All right. Hello, everyone. This is Story Talks, and I'm here today with E.C. Harris, the Sheriff of Suffolk, and he is one of the people that I met early on as I began campaigning for the Suffolk School Board. I am on the Suffolk School Board, and I represent the Chuckatuck Borough. E.C. Harris was someone that I met. He was so friendly. He really just embraced, supporting Suffolk and supporting the school system, and he's just been a delight to know. So I've invited him here today to talk about how our law enforcement interacts with schools, and then also his initiative of how he, specifically the Sheriff's Department, has adopted a school and volunteers and is a great support to Suffolk Public Schools. So welcome, EC, and thanks for being here with me.
Thank you for inviting me. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Would you just tell us a little bit about yourself? How did you get to the position you're at today here?
I began my law enforcement career in 1982 in the United States Army Military Police, and when I finished my time that I had signed up for, I joined the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel Police, who sent me to the Chesapeake Police Academy. This was in '86. Chesapeake and Suffolk had a police academy together. And while there, I met the then police chief, Gilbert Jackson, who hired me to come to the Suffolk Police Department, where I stayed for close to 18 years. And then I left the police department and went to work for the Commonwealth Attorney's Office as their chief investigator. I worked for a Commonwealth attorney for 10 years. And then in 2014, Sheriff Isaacs and a lot of members of the Sheriff's Office asked me to come over to the Sheriff's Office, which I did. And then Sheriff Isaacs retired, and I ran for sheriff in 2017, I think it was, 2017. And here I am. Best job I've ever had, I can tell you that, because it allows me to make more impact on the city than working in the Commonwealth Attorney's Office and the police department. Allowed me to do a lot of things, but this really allows me to get out and do more community engagement, especially in our schools.
Well, EC, I see you everywhere. I know you attend everything, and I think that's just so admirable. It's fun to see you, all your sheriffs. You support so many community events, and building that relationship is so good for Suffolk. And that's truly what we need. Building that relationship in schools, I want to first talk about this thing called an MOU. And if you could just explain to listeners, what is an MOU? What is it designed for between, this is a state law designed for between the school system and law enforcement?
Yes, ma'am. Have several MOUs with different organizations. One of them is the city. I'm in an MOU on unclaimed bodies. I handle all unclaimed bodies for the city as an accommodation to help the police department. And that is a memorandum of understanding. And that particular one, the city has things that they expect me to do in a certain way that they expect me to to do it. And then I have certain expectations of what I'm able to do. And we work that out and come up with this memorandum of understanding that both of us understand what our role is and what we'll do and what we won't do. But with the number one goal of making something work amenably between both parties. It's something that we review every couple of years to make sure there's no changes in the law, there's no changes in things. This might have hit a bump in the road here or there, and then we work around that and come up with a new MOU. And every couple of years we review that and sign that MOU. So it really lays out a parameter of what I would do for, let's say, the school system if they was something that they wanted me to do in the schools. And then I would say, well, here's what I'm able to do. What are you able to do? And now let's come together in some consensus so this thing works for everybody involved.
I see. Well, I noticed that as I was following the legislation that was passed and watching for things that affected the schools. I have a copy of it here, and that is for a memorandum of understanding, MOU, for school resource officers between the local school board and the local law enforcement agency. And I know that we have school resource officers in most of our schools, almost one per school. And I noticed that just in general, this was to be renewed every 5 years. And now the new legislation says it's to be renewed every 2 years. And talking between the law enforcement officers and between the school district. Why do you think they changed it from every 5 years to every 2? What would you see as a motivation for that, for schools to have this memorandum of understanding with their law enforcement agency?
I think law enforcement is changing so rapidly year to year, which is very similar with the school system. There's so many changes in the student, maybe the student population, so many changes in the laws, so many changes in the best practices that are taking place throughout the country, which is something that we review all the time. That is a great idea to at least every 2 years sit down and have a conversation about what's working and what's not working. What can we do better? What can we change to make this entire memorandum of understanding work better for both parties? So I think going from 5 years to 2 years was an outstanding idea, and I'm glad to see that they've done that, because so much changes from year to year that 5 years is a long time to go without having to say.
Yeah. I saw it here too. It says at the end, it says the bill provides that such a memorandum will be made available for public review and comment at least 30 days prior to its adoption. And the bill also redefines the school resource officer to prohibit a school resource officer from investigating or enforcing violations of certain board policies, including student conduct codes. So there's sort of this separation of what the school board is in charge of in terms of our policies. I mean, our people have to enforce that. And then there's the other side, which is the lawful side. And you need to do that part when it crosses the line, I think. That's how I see it.
Absolutely.
And then it's supposed to be very available to the public. It says in a very conspicuous place, should be posted so that the community knows. And I think that's really important too. What do you think?
Absolutely. The community needs to be kept aware of what's going on with the agreements that the police department in our city, that the police department has with the school in reference to school resource officers, and they should have their input, because sometimes the best ideas come from somebody that you would never dream it would come from. And that's what I find here in the sheriff's office. I have 40 employees, and we get ready to make a decision. I want 40 employees' thought process on that, because it'll be somebody that'll come up with the best idea in the world that me and other folks will never think of. So I think it's important for the public to have a say in it, because at the end of the day, whether you're a school board member or the sheriff of the city of Suffolk, we answer to the citizens of Suffolk, and they're our bosses. So I think they should definitely have input.
Yeah, well, I think that we'll be, engaging in this process, I believe, between our police department, and I hope to be able to talk to someone in our police department about that with the school board. And I'm glad that it's out there for 30 days to review, just for that very reason, so that citizens, if they want to make themselves aware of what this MOU looks like and what it says, that it's there and available, and that we make it pretty obvious how to find it and how to read it. So I really I think that's another good part of the law and what was passed.
Absolutely.
I want to switch to your adoption of Elephants Fork Elementary School.
Yeah.
A whole, a fair portion of students from Chuckatuck Borough and Suffolk Borough attend Elephants Fork. It's a Title I school, and just the kind of help I see constantly from articles in the newspaper, Suffolk News Herald. You spend a lot of hours, your sheriff's department as a whole has been tremendous in giving help to those kids at Elephant's Fork. How did that come to be, and when did you start doing that?
2014, when I joined the sheriff's office, we ramped up our community engagement program, and we decided that Elephant's Fork would be our community partner, I think is what they called it. And that we would try to pour some resources and time into Elephant's Fork Elementary. I personally believe, unfortunately, that sometimes we lose our children at the elementary school level. And I think that it's just my personal opinion that we need a strong emphasis on our elementary school children to help them in any way we can. Elephant's Fork was a perfect fit for us. We were there as much as I possibly can be there, and the staff, whether it's tutoring, reading books, just going and doing our school checks. A couple of years ago, we put a program in that we would check on every elementary school every day of the week. So one of the deputies, each deputy was assigned, our civil enforcement deputies were assigned a couple elementary schools per deputy, and every day they would go make a walkthrough just as a little safety and security check. Schools hired some security guys, security personnel to work the front lobby area. So we don't do it every day, but we do it several days a week still at every elementary school because it's so important for us to foster a good relationship with our elementary school children who we're going to see grow from year to year to year. We do some things in the middle school. We do some things in the high school. We have a good program with the high schools that they come and volunteer with us on our community engagement events, which gives them some of their community service hours. And it shows them that giving back to the folks that are less fortunate, people that may don't have as good as we do, it's just good for the heart. It's good for the heart. It's good for our city to make our city a better place. I tell people all the time, we have an outstanding city. However, for me, we could always do better. So the more we can give back, the better our city will be. Whether it's crime rate is down, people are going out of their way to help each other and everything that they can do. People are working together to make our city just a better place to live. So being in the schools is a paramount, is one of my priorities. Yeah,
well, you can tell that for how often that I see your staff is over there and engaged, and throughout the school year. That's been tremendous. And, you know, this time frame that we've been at home, you know, kids like that miss out. They count on you guys coming over. They think about the things you do with them. And it's, we think about all the volunteering that goes on that this time frame, the kids have missed out on. And that's a real tragedy. And if we don't get back to full school, again, they're going to be starting without, you know, all that community support. And I think that community support for all students, but especially some, is just paramount to them being successful.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's heartbreaking.
It is. Yeah, that, you know, they're getting great support with the lunches and so on. But, you know, that personal contact, right? Personal contact with all those people that were volunteering.
Absolutely.
That's really something that I'm sure the kids are missing. They're
missing it. I talk to kids all the time that I see in the community, and I ask them, do they miss school? And I have not had one person yet tell me they don't miss school. And I'm scratching my head like I didn't necessarily care too much for school. However, all the kids I talk to miss school. And it's so unfortunate that we're in the situation that we're in, because I truly believe they're missing out on so much. Last year, we went to Elephant's Fork for the last day of school to help the teachers with the big send-off.
Yeah.
And I've never seen so many kids crying and so many teachers crying because they were done for the summer and they were just going to miss each other. And it really, I had to step back a minute and really think, it's such a connection there that's unbelievable. That it had slipped by me, I guess. But it was something to see. It was an emotional time. And I'm like, this is, it just shows how strong the connection that our teachers and administrative staff and everybody else in the school has with these kids to try to help them along in life. So
They do
that's
it.
one of the worst things. Yeah, it's one of the worst things that this pandemic that we're in is just, it's a travesty. It's devastating.
It is. I know that a lot of the teachers have talked about, and I've talked with some students who said it was so abrupt. It was just one day we're there, find out, school's done, don't
Right.
come back. We'll let you know when, to pick up things. And there are high school teachers doing that today, picking up their things, and kids have gone back other days. It was so abrupt, and it just wasn't the same as all the celebrations and send off and hugs and kisses, and very, very odd, very, very different. And I'm sure it has been a very emotionally upsetting, and I'm sure depressing, that this was, and it's been just such a strange school year.
Absolutely.
And so that mental health piece, I know teachers are really concerned about their kids and
Right.
checking up on them, and they express that all the time on social media.
Right.
So that's a very big deal. You're right. Well, I appreciate all that you do, EC.
Thank you.
I appreciated meeting you, and meeting you as just a stellar citizen in our community. And then you've been very supportive of the schools, and I thank you for that. Thank you so much for that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm a firm believer in Suffolk Public Schools. Both of my children attended Suffolk Public Schools right through Lakeland High School and came out ready to go to college. One's
Great.
a lawyer and one's a nurse. So I'm a
Awesome.
100% supporter of Suffolk Public Schools.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. And thanks for having this talk with me today. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you letting me do it.
Thank you. Okay. Have a great day, EC.
You too.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.